We'll call this Shorewood Park Sanitary District meeting to order. And let's do just a quick roll call. I'm Rich Stork, I'm the chair.
Dean Findell, treasurer.
Matt Anderson, board member.
Sue Means, board member. Tina Heidelberger, clerk.
Paul Slazer, board member.
All right, let's go for approval of the meeting minutes from last July, a couple weeks ago, right, July 25th.
Wastewater update, Terry was not able to attend, so Rich presented in his absence. Flow rates were a low of 13,043, or I'm sorry, a high of 13,043 and a low of 9,088. Terry's been working on duckweed at the ponds, which is covered under his service or maintenance agreement. We will need to obtain a bid for the discharge, culvert, and manhole cover in the lower circle that needs repair or replacement. Chairman of the board update, Rich wanted to discuss it in the future, and we must change the date or time of the meeting. It would be the responsibility of the board members to attend, to notify any potential guests, and someone should be on site to alert attendees of the change of date, as well as posting on the website. Rich met with Brandon Mell in Nestle Township to discuss plowing services. We did receive a letter terminating the current contract. Rich presented a proposal to the township based on average snowfall, current Midco royalties, and identifying the potential shortfall of funds to cover this service, which is roughly $2,000. We've obtained bids from other plowing services, but the pricing varies greatly based on the level of service. They'll be responding with the proposal to the information Rich provided, and until we have that response from the township, we cannot decide on how to proceed with the best option for our residents. Regardless of the decision going forward, we will need to set some guidelines for our residents on expectations from the plowing service, such as property markers that are not breakaway vehicles, equipment parked along the roadside, mailboxes, etc. We will need to make these new costs, we will need to take these new costs into our upcoming budget and plan for the additional cost. The next township meeting is scheduled for the same night as our meeting. Paul suggested having a board member or residents attend the next meeting. Rich thought we should wait and see how they respond to us first before we react. Newsletter information is still needed from board members. Our next goal would be to print or share with the residents on September 1st. Expansion updates, they met with HR Green, who will need a solid estimate on the total cost for homeowners so they can make an educated decision. They also learned that the grant that we do have available to our district is an 80% grant for whatever the total cost would be for the expansion. Dean and Becky are working with Tim Corby from HR Green to get a more accurate number of the total cost. And the next step will be for Dean and Becky to contact each homeowner and obtain an answer on whether they are in favor of moving forward with the expansion or not. We want to have 100% responses from the homeowners in the expansion, and this would include 23 homes or lots. Residents can respond by using the district website and sending a message under the Contact Us tab option. Bills are listed. Those were all approved. And financial report, current investment accounts are listed there, and our current checking account. We did receive a deposit from Chisago County in the amount of $9,609.93 for collections on past due bills that were assessed to our residents. We received a check from Nestle Township for Midco royalties in the amount of $264.74. There was a motion to write that back to Nestle Township, which was done. Old business, the channel update, Jim Ertz was in attendance on behalf of Dennis Franson and to present the deed for the land and the channels currently owned by Dennis Franson to be transferred to Shorewood Sanitary District. Craig Mills of the DNR was also in attendance to answer questions and explain the process of how to proceed with this project now that the land underwater in the channels has now been deeded generously to us by Dennis Franson. Sue made a motion for Shorewood Park Sanitary has accepted to be the entity and accept the transfer of all deeds and permits associated with Shorewood Park Sanitary District and channels. I listened to that video about 6 times Oh my
to
God.
try to go back and figure out what to say. It took me, so I hope that that's correct. Anyways, expansion update. Did I do that? Oh yes, Dean added that they've composed a letter to be mailed out to residents with Becky. They've obtained email addresses for all expansion residents, and Dean had hand-delivered a letter to one of the residents that they were not able to contact otherwise. Paul recommended that maybe we send the letter via certified mail to those residents who have not responded. Rich will provide Dean with the mailing address based on the county website address for the property tax ID. Road repairs, thank you to Paul and George Folk for the work that they put in getting our road repairs addressed. George provided a letter by email to Rich with the areas identified that need repair. Discussed that we cannot decide to approve until we receive a bid from Premier Paving. George stated this will be sent ASAP. Estimated cost is approximately $25,000, which is just under our road budget for the year. There is an additional 200 feet that is not included in the proposed repairs, but that can be possibly addressed in the future. Premier Paving that if we can decide soon, they will be in Rush City doing repairs already and could get scheduled to have that area milled next week. Paul raised a question if we've been quoted for the same pricing as Rush City at the best price possible. The discussion was that because we are a smaller volume in comparison to Rush City, we would not likely have the same pricing. The wage study, we need to schedule a budget meeting for 2024, and at that time we can discuss looking at wages in addition to other additions to the budget, such as mowing, snow removal, etc. And we need to have the budget approved prior to October 2023 for the upcoming year. Discussed a potential meeting for Tuesday, August 22nd to address the budget. Paul will be reviewing the bylaws to ensure that we're not missing any additional requirements from the board, such as annual meetings or elections. Nassau Township plowing, this was addressed by Rich in the update, the chairman update. Website update, Matt has updated the website with all the flow rates, no other major current updates there. New business, Pete Stauber will be visiting, which actually happened today, and tour the neighborhood to discuss the grant that he made available to our district for the expansion. Shorewood sign, Dennis Wood owns the land that the Shorewood sign currently sits on as you enter the neighborhood. He sent a text to Rich stating that he is asking the residents and youth that volunteered to mow and take care of those areas stop, and is asking that Shorewood Park pay a vendor to mow and maintain this area. He's also proposing that Shorewood Park either pay him rent for his land, which would be $1,000 a year, or we could purchase the land from him. We do not own the sign as a district. This is privately owned by Mr. Wood. So we're looking for feedback from residents on how they'd like to proceed. As a district, we've been maintaining this land for several years by volunteers, and it could be an argument of adverse possession, but this again would cost the residents legal fees. There was a lot of frustration voiced over the request from Mr. Wood. This is once coming again at the cost of our residents. Jim Ertz did provide the request from Mr. Wood, did provide some suggestions saying that we need to add this to our next meeting agenda to discuss further. He's asking for a decision within the next 45 days. We have many options, but we need feedback from our residents and how they want to see this handled. Mowing, Matt shared pricing estimates on if we were to hire out mowing of the parks. There was much discussion about the cost, frequency, budget, etc. Rich asked that Matt provide with some more detailed pricing for upcoming meetings so that we can discuss it further and if needed, build this cost into our 2024 budget. Video, audio equipment storage, there was a request made to separate it into smaller bins, and it was approved. National Night Out, we made plans for a neighborhood night out on August 1st. Tina will create flyers, Matt will post on the website, we'll ask residents to bring ice cream treats to share at 6 p.m. And we adjourned at 8:25. Any corrections or changes?
Craig's last name is Wills.
Wills, oh, thank you. Wills. Thank you.
I just want to also add that I did provide detailed pricing for
Okay.
the parks.
Yep.
And I can provide that to you.
Okay.
I did email the entire board
Yep.
the spread.
Okay, so I'll correct that. And I can actually add that into this.
Okay, and then just a quick question on the financial report.
Yep.
The deposit from Chisago County of the $9,600, was that for past due bills, or is that a mixture of past due bills plus assessments? Do we know that?
That is, so that it's all past due bills
Okay.
that were assessed to those property owners. So it's anything that they did not pay in the year of 2022 was assessed on their first quarter here.
Okay,
The thing that I need to ask Bridget about, I don't know this, is I'm assuming that was the full amount based on the ones that I've turned into them.
okay, but I guess my question is it the expansion, or is it people within our Shorewood that are delinquent on just paying their regular, is it a mixture of both?
That I don't know. I can ask her for a breakdown. She should be able to provide me with a report of what's included in that.
Okay, because I think I think we should ask for that breakdown,
Okay.
because then we can separate, because we're starting to get questions of, on the expansion side, how do you know how much I owe, and it's public information, if they can call Bridget and ask and see how much they owe,
Yep.
but we should try to get a spreadsheet together as we move forward with the expansion information. There must be some sort of a breakdown. I don't know how many people are delinquent within the park and who already pay sewer bills,
Yep.
but you do say that there are some that are delinquent, and we do have.
There's a number of them that are
Okay,
going to,
all right. So if we can have a dividing line, that'll help that. I mean, I know
Okay.
that isn't gonna happen right away, but
Yep.
it will help us understand it a little bit more.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
Got it.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. All right, we'll wait on Terry a little bit. We'll catch him on the backside for the wastewater update. Chairman update, well, what's happened since 2 weeks ago? I guess we could start with where we are with the plowing of the roads. I would imagine that they're going to be talking about it, and we'll get some sort of an update today from Joe. But I know Brandon he'll text me and kind of let me know where things are at. And I'll try to send out an email to bring you guys up to speed, depending on which way they go. But I think even if it does wait till next month, we'll still have a little bit of time to react to it. But I'll try to get that information out. I'm hoping some sort of proposal similar to what I said out to them. That's what I'm hoping for. The letter did go out on the wastewater, or on the expansion information, and we are starting to get some feedback on the straw vote. So I've been going through a lot of emails and answering some questions as I can.
The current tally is like around 8 or 9 to 1 in favor of continuing.
At this point, yes. Other than that, I think it's been, pretty quiet other than that at this particular point in time. Like I said, we covered quite a bit last meeting, so we're still kind of status quo there. Now we're gonna throw Terry right into the bus.
You would throw me over
Over the bus for a little bit of a wastewater operator update. Terry, thanks for coming. Again, we apologize the last time you showed, and we had a little quick cancellation of the meeting. I'll take the blame because I went fishing. But I
That's
got a
okay,
little treat for you.
I sat here for a while, I was like, okay, nobody's coming. Yeah, that's fine. I was they had me down here anyhow, so.
Yep.
Things are quiet. We just looked at the highest flow for last month was on the 12th at 7,830 gallons. And then the 9th, for the Saturday after 4th of July, was 18,890.
So the low was 78, the high was,
18,790, 18,890.
and that was over the 4th of July weekend.
The Saturday after 4th of July. I thought it was going to be the highest on the 4th, but it wasn't.
Oh, well, that kind of
The
makes
4th was
sense.
actually,
It was me washing all the towels.
Yeah.
that's your fault.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, the 4th was like right around 9,000 gallons. It's like, it was nothing out of the ordinary. And yeah, the numbers have been really good.
Good.
Pumps have been fine. Have no issues with communication or nothing. We got a duckweed problem in the pond, but I think it's getting under control now, so.
Okay, yeah, we were out there today. We had Pete Stopper stopped out for, to thank, they provided a grant for the possible expansion. So Pete Stopper stopped by, and we stopped by the pond, so yeah, there's a lot of duckweed out there. So you've treated it? Or?
Yep, treated it, and it's actually gotten a lot better.
Okay.
It was really weird because the stuff I put on there, when I got from one side to the other side, it was turning brown already, and I was like, oh, this is some pretty interesting stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it worked.
What do you use?
Yeah.
It was just some stuff that I got through MPCA, which they recommended to use for. I said, oh, okay. Well.
Give that a whirl. Is that something that's going to be multiple applications?
I think I'm going to be okay. When I looked at it quick, that's where I was quick tonight. I wanted to go look and see how it's coming. And a big chunk of it's opened up, and I can see there's another big section ready to drop down. So.
Yeah. So and then does that just naturally the bugs eat that up and
Yep.
compose that?
It'll actually break it down. Doesn't do nothing to the biomass in the bottom, and it'll just help it break down. But that needs the sunlight to get through, so the the bacteria will keep working harder and harder and
So
harder.
that's the reason why you want to get
Yep,
it
you
done.
need the sunlight in there. Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, great.
It looks like they must have sprayed for weeds around the outside edges.
We haven't had a bill from Rasmussen.
We got one right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
So
we got
they
a
must
new
have
one.
just sprayed because I just noticed that the weeds are
starting to die off.
Yeah, really dying off now, yeah.
Okay.
Integrity looking around the pond and everything, no holes. I don't even know where the ground squirrels went. Maybe the ground's too hard and they can't dig in it, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see any, mounds like we have in the past
Yeah,
either
no.
on there, so that's good. One thing that I did want to ask you for, because it was brought up in the last meeting, and, budget year is coming up,
Yep,
so we're kind of looking for a couple quotes, or at least budget for ROMs, for, for things that we could
Yep.
possibly budget. And one of the things that you had mentioned was that manhole
yep,
around that lower, I think it's Lakeside Circle.
yep, the bad one down there.
Right, we should probably get a bid on
Okay.
replacing that. And then something that's been really hanging out there for a few years, I know Denny was looking for numbers to get that corrected over, prior, and that was the discharge area going into ditch number 8. I think there was a current bid for somebody to at least replace that culvert, that discharge area.
Yep,
We should get down there and take a look at that. I know last fall when we did the final discharge before we brought you on, we were all really curious of, we can see the last manhole, we could hear the water running into the ditch, but we don't know if there's baffles or what there is. I think that seems to be collapsed, and I don't know what kind of current conversation you had in the past with them, but I think it needs some attention.
Yeah, it needs some attention, but that's ditch number 8, I think, or something like that. Could we get a hold of the county and see if they participate in it?
Yeah, I think what we've had the conversation before, our culvert dumping into the ditch is
Yeah.
our responsibility, because that's part of our system. But keeping the ditch clean beyond that, where it goes
Yeah.
under the road, I think that's the responsibility of the county.
And then our easement goes over the top of that, I believe.
It does go over the
Continues
top of
on,
it.
So,
There used to be another road going to the other road, I understand.
yeah,
At least there's an easement that goes
Mhm.
through that guy's property.
yeah,
But Paul, I don't even know if we need to utilize that, because now we have access from the pond side.
yeah.
So,
what was the reason to have access from the other side?
what was it?
Yeah.
I don't know the total history behind that.
Oh, okay.
But Denny did mention that used to be the way that they came into the ponds, or
Mhm.
into that area.
Oh, that would come from the farm then, through the yard or something, I would guess.
Yeah, they had to go, well, it was like I said, it was an easement
Yeah.
through his property to get to that ditch. And I really don't know why.
Yeah. That, I would think, in all reality, with an hour with a little mini excavator down there is probably all you really need to do. And it might be something as simple as a little grip wrap on it or something to hold, because it has collapsed in. I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys have noticed that it's
Yeah.
settled in and collapsed in, so
Yeah, if you can get a look at that and just give us
Yeah, that's-
a repair or what you think that it might
that might
take.
be just a Saturday fun project.
Get away from the wife and kids
No,
problem.
she doesn't even know. I had to stop and see her.
Oh, that's right, you're so busy. It's a surprise when you see her.
That's an easy deal there, so, okay, I'll throw something together.
And then, I mentioned to you in the past, I know our pumps are in real good shape,
Mm-hmm.
but, you had mentioned, and I kind of know that the vintage of the controls in both lift stations, it's really old technology. Is it worth getting some numbers put together for that for future?
Yeah.
I mean, it works, it's
It
solid.
works, it's actually, the stuff that's in it is actually really good quality stuff that's in it for the controls and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I started looking at it, and I said, oh, this is really good, but it's actually really good stuff that's in it, so that
Okay.
it's withstood the test of time. I know we did 8 of them on the Kegel, just for the fact that they wanted updates and stuff, and we put some different controls and stuff in them, eliminated some floats and stuff, but the guts, the good stuff is there, so.
okay, and that's just my thought. I mean, sometimes you do too much and it causes more problems.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'd ask you, because, is it worth putting drives in there? And that type of control, easy to start on the motors.
It is, VFDs are good, and we've got them on just about every pump we've got in the ground now.
Okay.
Just for the fact that they amp up real slow when they pump and then they idle back down.
And there's,
It doesn't got that hard start and stop on them.
right, and there might be some sort of a rebate on that from,
There could be.
on drives.
VFDs are kind of the cheap end of them.
Okay,
And then I think most of them we did up there, I think were like $3,000 to $5,000. I shouldn't say cheap, but $3,000 to $5,000 to put them in there. And you're gonna gain probably 5 to 7 years of life on them.
Well, I know that, you know, in our industry, if we replace drives, typically you can almost get the drive paid for.
Yeah.
And the payback is less than 5 years
Yeah.
with the electricity and stuff. So, you know, it's something else to look at, but let's concentrate on, you know, the top two things that we
Okay.
talked about, that manhole, and I think that ditch number 8.
But like the control panel we just put on the K1, and it varied between 2.5 horse up to I think 8 horse, and the low one that they were like $23,000 a piece for a control, all new control panel, basically every new one. And floats, transducers, one float there just by high wire. And on the high end, on 8 horse pumps, I think they were like 25 to 26,000.
So somewhere the budget is 23 to 25.
Somewhere there, yeah.
Okay, all right. I don't have any other questions. Is anybody else on wastewater? I guess I don't have anything else. I think we can move on to financial update.
Sorry, just 1 second, just
Sure.
putting my update in here.
Thank you, Jerry.
No, thank you, good.
All right, I did provide an updated budget to everyone. You should have that there to look at. Just gonna pull up our checking account right now. So currently, as of today, our balance in our account is $65,287.41. Does anyone have any questions about the budget so far of what's listed there? I tried to make it a little bit larger.
Thank you.
Yes, I know, trust me, I can barely see it, so I'm just kind of going through and I spent some time checking and making sure that I have things coded correctly.
So the League of Minnesota Cities, what, is that a fee or the 18?
So that's insurance.
Oh, insurance, okay.
Yep, that's insurance. Here.
That's the insurance for Pole Park. That's our liability insurance.
Mhm, Yearly?
Yep.
So some of our, we do not see bills from Quality Flow anymore. So that's a positive since LJJ has taken over. We're not seeing those bills. The one question I did have is I did not know where to code the $500 to Dennis Wood, what I should code that under. That was my question. I have it under engineering costs right now, but I know that that's probably not right. I didn't know where exactly we thought that that should come from.
We got a line for training.
How about,
Parks.
well, you know, how about MPCA licensing? That's another one we can probably think about.
Okay,
Yeah.
You kind of fall under keeping license current.
all right, I'll move it down there then.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Anything else on budget?
And then this will also be posted at the pump house for residents to see.
Good.
If you want something posted at the pump house, a community type thing, is that, do you have to put it in there? Or-
There's a key, there's a lock, it's locked. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean.
Okay, come to you.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Matthew can always, he's my errand boy, he goes and puts it
Okay.
up there for me.
But I mean, anything would need to be approved.
Well, is it a
For what?
community board? I don't think it's a problem putting something on that board.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I do the blood drive for Rush City,
Yep.
and if that could be posted.
I know it's a community board too. If it brings eyes to that board, I think it's a positive thing, right?
Mhm.
I think anything you want to post to, I think Matt wouldn't mind posting it on the website either. No, just email it to me.
Okay, thank you.
One thing with Altoff and Associates, I did have a conversation with Rich earlier this month. I talked to them
So there was some confusion because we had a return check, a check that had non-sufficient funds from a resident that got returned, and I didn't know about it. And so I was I talked to the bank and they're like, well, we mailed you, a copy of it. I'm like, I never got it. Well, then I found out that our bank account mail goes to Alcock and Associates. It doesn't, we don't get any of it, which doesn't make sense to me because they have access to our account because they do our payroll taxes, which is quite minimal now. It used to be more when we had Denny Wood as our operator, but just because the only payroll taxes we pay are just the $250 a month. I mean, of wages that we pay plus my wage, but I'm 1099, so I don't have taxes taken out. So I had talked to her about that, and I need to get the board's opinion on, are we okay with changing that address to go to the P.O. box instead of going
Oh,
to
yes.
Alcock? Because there is no way for me to know
Yeah.
if there's a return check or if there's, anything,
Is there a
so
reason that Alcock would need that?
I have no idea. She said that's the way it had always been done with Wendy, so.
Well, I would say that if we think there's something awry, that we have the ability to report it to them or ask for their assistance, but
Yeah.
I think our hands are tied because they're not telling us where that check is, so
Yeah.
do we need a motion for that?
I don't know. Well, the other thing too that I discussed with her and I mentioned to you too is about the reports that they're doing.
Yeah.
So she's like, she'd asked, should I continue to do these quarterly reports? And that's something that we need to decide. I know we've discussed before is there value in having them do that? Because it's basically a recap of our checking account. So I mean, which would be no different than me providing copies of our transactions from the past month. I could print that out and present it at the meeting just so that we have transparency to our residents. But I don't know if that's really necessary to have, because we're paying for that service to have her do that once a quarter.
So again, we've touched base on it. What does Alcock do for us other than take care of our income tax type stuff, right? Our taxing and...
Yep, so she would do our W-2s to any of the board members, so anyone who's paid. She does the W-2s at the end of the year, or beginning of the year technically. So that's the one service that she provides. The quarterly reports, that's basically just a quarterly recap of what's happened in the past quarter. Debits.
Pertaining,
Any debits, any deposits, which we're not looking at that. We're not looking at,
we don't see it.
no, and we can, I'm, obviously, now Rich, you have access to the account, the checking account as well, or the checking and savings account. But we have this budget that we've adopted now, and that's what I was telling her about. I said, we have a different operating budget now that they've never done in the past. So I said, we're more looking at that and where our expenses are coming in at. And then the other thing she would do is our payroll taxes, which that does happen monthly. But she only pays them quarterly. So she pays them once a quarter, our payroll taxes. But she's doing the deductions from.
Tina, do you track who makes payments and who doesn't, or do they, for income? Do you track who?
That's
makes-
me that
Okay.
does that, yeah. So she
Okay.
has no idea about what checks have come in,
Okay.
deposits, she sees the deposits in our checking account,
Mm-hmm.
but she has nothing to do with our monthly bills. So she would have no access to see, Paul is current on his bill,
Yeah.
but Sue is 6 months behind. Or, she,
I thought so.
yep, that's exactly it. So, no, but, she doesn't
Yeah.
have access to the resident bills or
Okay.
anything to do with that. So she's just seeing those deposits coming in the checking account.
And she's seeing a gross total and, yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
okay.
So,
I'm not a financial wizard, so I have to lean on you guys to tell me what you think the best procedures are, but it seems like to me that we're throwing money out the door for a service that we really don't need because you're doing it anyways.
well, it's $180 a month. I mean, that's a significant amount when you consider they're really not providing a huge service to us.
No. And
I-
plus, there was some transaction that happened that we
Well,
should
and that
have
was,
been aware of.
and that was frustrating, because when I
Yeah.
talked to her, she goes, oh, I just assumed that you knew about it. And I said, no, I didn't get the return check. So, which that's frustrating, because I have to be able to go back to the
Mhm.
resident, if I'm not finding out until after the fact, that's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, it's not fair to them either.
No,
to
it's
know
not,
that.
no. So, I think it's something that maybe we can address at our budget meeting, we can make a decision there, but just so that everyone is aware of it, and we can think about it, and, I don't know, have it on, as part of our agenda for our budget meeting. of
Well, I
how we
make
wanna-
a motion that we put that on our agenda for that meeting.
The budget meeting?
Mhm. Yes.
Can I get a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. One thing that, just to add to that, maybe we should at least see the copy of the reports that she used
Yep.
to kick out.
Yep.
I do recall seeing them in the past. They did make a lot of, I couldn't piece it together for the reports, so I was always surprised, and they came out quarterly.
Yep.
And same thing, Wendy balanced the books anyways,
Mhm.
so. All right, we'll bring that up in that, what is that, October meeting? We haven't really decided.
Well, technically,
September?
we talked about meeting on August 22nd.
Okay,
No later than
So-
the first meeting of August each year.
okay, so that's coming up fast. Dang, another meeting in August.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did we reserve
We-
for that?
We didn't decide at the last meeting, we had just talked about it. There was never a decision made if for sure we were gonna meet or
Well,
not.
let's keep the ball
Yeah.
rolling.
Okay, so are we gonna plan for August 22nd?
Let's set a tentative date of August 22nd, if nobody give people a chance to look at their calendars
Okay.
before, and let's just shoot an email around to make sure that that's okay, all right? Is everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
That's an important meeting. All right, anything else on financial, other than, with Tina, you good?
Yep.
All right, investment funds update?
I did not receive a statement yet for the end of last month, so
Okay.
I don't assume there's much of a change on what we got.
Okay, well, that was quick, good. All right, presentations of bills.
I have one bill for our operator for $1,700, a bill from Rasmussen for $322.13, and then I have an invoice for ink, for printer ink. So partly because when I printed the Shorewood flyers for Shorewood. So asking for approval for those three bills.
Motion made.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries?
All
All
right.
right. Old business, following update. Well, we're waiting for a response from the township. As soon as we find out, I'll have Matt put some information out on the website, and I guess hopefully it's enough time for us to address at the next scheduled meeting and come up with a plan. Keep our fingers crossed, and it goes the right way. Expansion update. Dean, you want to kind of give us a little update of where we're at, what went on the last month, for the last couple of
We
weeks?
sent out the email for people to do a straw vote, and Matt just said that we had 8 positive and 1 negative, I guess.
It's up to 2 negative now, but yeah,
Okay,
same
1
one.
negative. Other than that, I think we talked about people that haven't responded, we should get back to them. I think there was some talk of getting some addresses for the ones that haven't responded.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we kind of gave them to the 14th for a response. As we get closer to that date, I'll keep a tally on the responses, and then we'll ID those people and knock on their doors and ask for the response. I think it's important that everybody has a say.
Do we have a checklist of those homes so that we can go down the line and check off as we're receiving responses?
Yep, I do have a tally of it. I'm keeping a spreadsheet the old-fashioned way, and I can share that with you here.
Okay.
That's not a spreadsheet, that's a sticky note.
We Paul, you'll be impressed. It's a little bit more complex than that.
What am I looking at? You want John Henry, you want me to?
No, you can do it.
Matt's kicked out an email to the respond update on that. So
Thank you, Matt.
Where are we at? Channel update, Sue. I think we did a lot of the heavy lifting last week.
Yes, it was very needed and appreciated. Tony from Waterways and Craig Wills from the DNR came out yesterday. Yes. Or Sunday? I can't remember. Monday. What is today? Tuesday?
Tuesday, Monday, yeah. I saw you.
And they took a tour of the channels. Craig Wills needed a little more detail on the process. This is a new process for them with this type of equipment. There's only 2 of these dredging machines in Minnesota, and they've never seen it before. So he came out, they went through that, and there is Tim Fairclough and I are going to update a permit that puts it in Shorewood's name and me as a contact person.
Okay.
And then we should be ready to roll and get this permit out, because it takes like 30 days to get approved, and we're getting, the clock's ticking here. We've got 2 months before our dredge date, so. But everything's looking good.
Okay, then I did scan that deed,
Yes.
and I passed that on to you and
Yes.
Tim.
Mhm.
So I do have a copy too that I keep in the Shorewood information. And then you have he has the original copy to put into the safe deposit
Yes.
box with all the other deeds.
I will get that done this week.
Perfect, thank you.
Sue, they looked like they were looking at the other side of the east side of the channel?
Yes.
When they were over there?
Yes, and that is still, the DNR shows that no one owns that property.
Really?
Yes, I did see a map that showed that Doug Cardinal owned it.
Mm-hmm.
I did see like an outline of the Shorewood property that
Mhm.
Dennis owned, and that line that shows that small area
Mhm.
between the channel
Yeah.
and the east side is most likely part of Dennis Franson's property, and then he just dug the channel in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, finding the Holy Grail. I mean,
Yeah.
it's where do we go to, you're talking about, 80-year-old document that was done a certain way back in the day. And-
Yeah, and they probably don't have stakes on that
Yeah.
side of the channel.
Yeah, plus, getting the hose in there, they have operators that, he has them hold the end of that hose,
Mhm.
and Dan and Chris Allendine, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, went down there, and that road only goes a certain distance, and then it's impassable. So the opportunity for that sediment to be put over on that east side is practically nothing.
Okay.
Which is sad, because it would have been easy,
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
to load over there, and then plus you get down to a certain point, and there's the wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have the authority to decide
Yeah.
where a wetland begins and ends.
I've seen people, there's a trail just on the other
Yeah.
side of that. People, the owner, they were looking for their cat one day. So, yeah, there's
Yeah.
a trail over
There
there.
might be a walking path,
Yeah.
but nothing that would
Yeah.
accommodate any.
Yeah, I know they got a deer stand back in there.
Yeah.
I have not seen anybody back there on wheelers or anything.
So as of right now with the dredging project, people over on the East Channel are going to have to take the spoils on their
Mhm.
property.
Okay.
And you'll update those people with that.
Yes, I sent an email out asking people who will take that one. There's some
Yeah.
over there who have extremely downhill properties that, like, I walked down one and wasn't comfortable.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and that, we have a couple months to get that all settled, and
Okay.
it's looking good, and,
All right. Sorry, Paul, I skipped the road repairs and where we're at with that. You want to give us an update?
Yeah, I sent the second bid. We got a bid from Premier.
Yep.
We received a second bid from Diversified, and they were pretty competitive. I did ask them to be more responsive to what exactly they were going to be doing.
Yep.
And they did. The third bid from North Oaks Paving is twice the amount of what these guys did.
Yeah, I did. I
I've
just
seen
seen that.
Yeah, that just showed up here as I was sitting here.
All right,
So,
I guess before we make our final decision, if we can do it fairly quick, can you, the only thing that I think we need to compare apples to apples just a
Yeah.
little bit with Premier.
yeah, I can reach out to Cole tomorrow morning and say, hey, you know, we're strongly considering your bid, but I'd like to have it a little bit more.
Detail on the bid.
Yeah.
Right. And then let's try to get an email in real quick. I'd like to get an answer and get that
Yeah.
approved before, let's say.
What are you
before
looking
they
for?
work. Well, his bed, it's just raw. All it says is,
Is $25,000 to fix the roads.
yeah, so basically we just need a little bit more details on there. I
And here
actually,
he's talking about what he's gonna do, what type of work he's gonna be doing to it, and.
it just gives us a little bit more paperwork to compare.
Yeah.
And then actually you can see where I wrote in terms. I mean, we've had a relationship with the whole that I feel comfortable enough to do
Yeah.
that, but it's only fair. Let's
Yes.
just take the extra time to ask for
Yeah,
that.
I'll get a hold of him tomorrow.
Let's just do a little bit more work and we'll get this thing put behind us. All right, the sign, we're just gonna let it ride right now. We're looking for feedback. Thank you, Margie, for sending some feedback.
How are you going to approach that for every resident to have their thoughts?
They can go right on the website
Yeah, you can go,
and
that's where
for the submission. And
Okay, are we going to wait a certain amount of time,
I-
or how long are we going to give people to
I think-
reply?
Well, 45 days is, we got, time, I think.
Okay.
I don't,
I just,
let's let it ride. See
How
what
much
they think
feedback
about.
have you received so far?
Margie's the first one.
Margie!
So I think people are just starting to get caught up on the minutes. Spread the word, put it on the
Okay.
board, and if somebody wants to talk about it, and somebody comes up to one of you guys, just, so we can keep a tally, ask them to do a submission, and hit contact us, just like we're doing with the expansion, then we have documented response, and then it's more than just conversations. So we'll just let it ride. It looks like somebody mowed, I don't know who did, but
Yeah.
thank you for whoever that was.
I noticed that later.
Shorewood Night Out, Sue, you want to give us a quick update on how that went? I think it was a blast.
It was, even though we had not the perfect weather, we had a lot of people attending, a lot of people who have never met their neighbors, and there was a good suggestion, the sheriff came and handed out little badges, and the kids got this, I think it was a very nice community event. And the suggestion was made to have name tags next year, which I think is a good idea. And I think it was nice to have a couple board members present to, show that you're there for the community. And
Yeah, it was, I think it was very positive.
Yeah, it
You
was.
guys turned it around pretty quick, and it was a good turnout. I had fun.
it was
Approximately how many?
about 45,
Really? Wow. Well,
not
that's good.
counting kids.
Yeah, the kids were running around, we had a blast.
Yeah.
Not counting the kids. And actually, it was, a lot of the kids have never met before, so that was kind
Yeah,
of cool.
okay, that's even
Yeah.
better, yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt, I had people send me pictures, so I will forward those to you so that we can
Perfect.
put them on the website. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to kind of display that so that people can see.
I did update the website with the July 4th parade pictures.
Oh, thank
So
you.
they're up there now.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
And we apologize to the parents if your kids came home with sugar highs
Or,
from all the ice cream and popsicles.
or someone sent Matthew home with 2 liters, a gallon of ice cream.
I didn't send it, he asked.
I was gonna, I'm sure he asked. But we won't, I'm not gonna name my names.
Was it everybody from Upper Shorewood or mixed?
No, there was
mixed?
people-
No, we
Really?
had a
Okay,
few
great.
from the lower level, and I think the weather might have,
Yeah.
deterred some, but it was a good turnout for our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did appreciate we had two different groups of the sheriff's department come through. So one car came through and then a second guy came through. So that was really good to see
Yeah.
that.
Anisha was the one that actually
Yeah.
had reached out to the Chisago County Sheriff's Department and asked to have someone sent out. So that was nice to see that they obliged.
It's good to see that.
Yeah.
Any updates on media, the website, how we doing, Matt?
Nothing really to report there.
Okay. It is working well with the submissions. I think that's a great way to get
Yeah.
responses. So again, if you want to comment on the sign, we're just looking for responses to see how we're going to move forward with that. I'm really not going to make much noise about it. We all kind of voiced our frustrations last meeting, so we know where we stand there. Mowing update, I think we have enough information to bring into that budget meeting, and I think that's where we're gonna make a decision. I think we're just kind of wait to see where we get hit on snow plowing. I think that'll be number one over mowing the lawns, but we'll just see where that money is. I do appreciate, there was a lot of brush and stuff that was up at that burn pile. And it was taken care of and cleaned up very, very fast.
Yeah.
So that's moving in the right direction too.
Thanks to Andy Shannon,
Yep.
took care of that for us.
Yep,
Yeah.
so there was quite a bit of stuff, even last got a storm, and it didn't last up there very long, so.
There was a party that cut that branch that fell down too, and I don't know who they were. I didn't know them. I had never met them before, but I saw them out there and I recognized them too, but just thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they left the wood there.
Yeah, they left it in a nice neat pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's moving forward well, so I do appreciate that. Paul, you kind of shared something with some bylaws and stuff for our meetings and elections, and that's something that we should get, talk about. Is that when?
Well, the budget, according to the bylaws, we're supposed to have like 2 different budget meetings, and it's supposed to be on or about the 1st of August. And then we're supposed to, we need to discuss them at 2 consecutive board meetings, and on the second board meeting, we would be finalizing the budget, and we would be publishing a copy of the proposed budget in Chisago County paper, at least 7 days before the meeting where we're approving the budget.
Do we have to put it in the paper, or can we do it through our website? Is it just a matter of publishing it?
It's a matter of publishing, the bylaws state that it's in the paper. And I see a variety of other, organizations and whatnot having their budgets posted in the paper. So I'm guessing it's so that nobody has an excuse to say they didn't see it.
Okay.
And
I don't have a problem with it if that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
I
They
Until
did
such
that
a
in the
time-
past, so they've never done that.
No.
Yeah, okay. There's
I
a
mean,
whole
this-
lot of things we've never done.
Yeah,
that-
no, but-
Again, I don't want to go to prison because we're violating state statute.
Yeah.
So, I'm too old to go to prison.
I understand that. I guess,
Yeah.
to me, I guess I don't understand
You know,
why we have to see what our business is.
and
Well,
a lot of when I started researching the state statutes that are quoted in the budget, half of them no longer exist.
Yeah.
They've been revised or canceled and modified and whatnot. So until such a point in time where we decide to modify our own bylaws, and we should be able to do that by our own motion, vote, and change,
So could we make a motion now to say that
We'll
we want to
publish it.
change the bylaw, that we'll publish it on our, website versus in the paper?
I'd like to propose something a little bit more on the macro, a little more of a blanket deal. I think that we should have a conversation, we should pay to have a conversation with our attorney. Ask them the questions, do we need to be following these bylaws? Are we a city municipality or are we not?
Yeah, we do have a lot of conversation about it.
There's so many things that are brought up,
Yeah.
elections and everything else, and it's like, nobody wants these jobs. So it's like, Paul and I were coming to meetings on our own accord for 3 months. We're the only ones
Yeah.
that showed up in the entire neighborhood, and it's been that way for a long time. And it's not to knock the neighborhood or knock
No.
people's interests, but it's just the facts. Spending a bunch of time and a bunch of money on elections and being reimbursed for elections and concentrating on that, I guess I would like to try to amend these bylaws, slow them down, have a change of hands every now and then, and have the option to change hands, but you know, let's say, give the members in our neighborhood an opportunity to put their hat in the ring, and if people do, then we have an election, but if they don't, then we don't, you know, that kind of thing. But then also, like, the bid, like, you know, getting bids for the roads and all this kind of thing, I completely understand, like, we want to follow the rules, and if we're, you know, the League of Cities tells us that we need to do that, that's fine, but I still think that we should call our attorney. Do we need to be following the bylaws that nobody's ever followed for decades, that nobody's ever gone to jail? And I just feel like we kind of just keep spinning our wheels, and we've been doing that for a year. So I just kind of want to just nail this thing and get it
I
done.
think it's a good idea too, to find out what are we? What is
Yeah.
expected, what do we have to
And,
do?
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, assuming and, you know, and then beating things around until we can find out, and it's, you know, nothing's ever quick.
And the League of Cities, from what a couple times I've talked to people down there, they
Yeah.
always say, get your own legal advice.
Yeah.
So we're spending money to join a
Yes.
club and get a sticker and, you know, take care of insurance. That's it for that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, let's be careful about that. I think, the insurance, I think, is cut right through the League of Minnesota Cities.
Correct.
So if we wanted to open up that can of worms, I think we should leave, that's another approach.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, just from the response, like even when I try to call the legal,
Mhm.
the LMOC, it's a runaround, and they always sort of say, refer to legal.
Yeah.
The same runaround you have.
Yeah,
And the information they gave us, we could find online.
that's true. They told me to get a hold of the Office of Procurement. I sent an email and some papers into them. But I'm guessing they're gonna say the same thing, you know, get your own legal advice and they'll tell you what's going on. But,
All right,
The-
well, the question, I'm concerned about just calling up Kelly and Lemons, and just start asking them questions. Because they're gonna wanna charge us for questions,
Mhm.
right? So how do we approach it?
Yes.
You know, we are gonna have to approach legal with this expansion that's coming up. So I don't know if I think we should talk about how we move forward with contacting legal.
Well, and we've talked about changing legal as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Who are
and
the-
I talked to Amy at City Hall
Yeah.
about the roads, about legal opinions. And she said they placed an ad in the paper, request for proposals. And that they were looking at X number of hours at what type of a rate.
From lawyers?
Yeah,
So you
and that's how they hired their attorney. And they said there were 3 or 4 of them that replied. You know, I can get a hold of her again and say, hey, can you send me a copy of the ad that you ran? Because we could run a similar ad and just put Shorewood Park on it. But yeah, Chad, I've had one conversation with him, and you seem to say he's not very responsive. But municipal attorneys have got to be out there. They're a dime a dozen. We're not reinventing the wheel on anything that we're doing.
No.
And with the elections, Matt, I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I think the idea behind the elections is to start engaging some of the people in the community and talk to people that you normally wouldn't about what's going on around here. I know when you and I were appointed, but when were the rest of you guys appointed?
I was asked to join.
Yeah, same thing, there was no.
Exactly, but when?
Oh, well, I think this is my 3rd year.
Okay,
Basically, 3rd year.
Yeah.
so put an
Basically-
approximate month and year on it.
What's that?
A month and a year. When was it?
I would say June of 2019, let's say that. But again, I was asked to fill out, I mean, there was no election, there was no
Mhm.
nothing, there was no interest.
Yeah.
So I think just about everybody on the board was asked to join because nobody else,
Yeah,
It was before Anderson died.
yeah.
okay.
So I think.
And I have no
mine was
idea.
about the same as yours.
So I think there's actually a clause in there saying if nobody's elected, you can appoint somebody.
Yeah,
And I think that's basically how it's come about also.
You know, and maybe we need to, you know, sidebar this as an individual project also, because Well, you and Matt know, you came to meetings. How many meetings have we sat here and had? And
We're starting to see more participation.
yes, we are,
Thank
and
you, Margie,
that's
for
great.
coming, and
Yeah.
it's more
Yes.
people are getting involved, and I think we're getting more word out there,
Yeah.
because I think it was standoffish before, and I think there'll be more interest
Mhm.
as we continue to move forward on what's going on. I think that, we can still have further discussions about it,
Mhm.
if we want to set some sort of, platform for that, I don't have a problem with it, but I think, like what Matt was saying, I think we have the ability, once we talk to a lawyer, to try to determine what that
Mhm.
procedure is gonna be. I think we can write our own procedures and protocols for it, right? But again, we need to understand a little bit more
Mhm.
what our boundaries are. Because we're always talking about our boundaries, right?
Mhm.
You have an opinion, he has an opinion, I have an opinion, right? What is the sanitary district? Is it just to keep control of the sewer and stuff, and everything else more is on a line of like an HOA? That's the way that I kind of look at it.
Yeah, me too.
I think that the district was put together to take care of the sewer, right?
Mhm.
There was an HOA in Shorewood Park, it all kind of dissolved, and everything kind of fell into this entity of the Shorewood Sanitary
Mhm.
District. I mean, if we have to put a dividing line and keep things a little bit separate, so we can have more control, I think we can go down that road.
Yeah.
And then the sanitary district takes care of what it's supposed to take care of, and that is the sanitary, which is regulated under the NPCA. So I think there's different ways to approach this and look at it.
Yeah.
But we can still have this group discussion in one meeting, so I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I'm not fighting you, Paul, I like your opinion, and that's why we have these groups, is so we can have a discussion about it. So, it's just a matter of how we want to move forward. So.
Yeah, somewhere in here it states that we're pretty much a de facto city council.
Yeah,
And that we get the privileges and responsibilities that go along with it. So,
and that doesn't mean anything to me, I don't know what that means, because I think when I look up what a special sanitary district is, it doesn't have the same governing as a city or a township. Its main rule is to collect money and take care of the sanitary district, or what the district is supposed to serve. It could be a mosquito district, it can be, there's all kinds of different names for districts, sewer district, but the main responsibility of the sewer district is to collect funds and maintain the sewer system. I think everything else that we're talking about within Shorewood, almost kind of falls under the line of an HOA
Yeah.
Well, I
type
almost
thing.
feel like when those bylaws were adopted, they were adopted because they had to.
Right.
Like, it was like, okay, well, we'll kind of look at what other people have out there and not even really taking into consideration because they weren't following them.
Right.
So it was like, oh, well, okay, well, cross it off our list of things that we need to do. We need that bylaws, check. We just basically copied and pasted what somebody else is doing and put our names on it. But that clearly is not meeting the needs of our.
No, the current
Yeah.
situation, the
Yeah.
current status of we're a neighborhood. We're not a city or I don't know what,
I guess
it appears
basically-
we are. We're not a state or.
We're looking
county
for
or
less
city.
government, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Well, we are.
I'm from the
Let's keep
government
it-
and I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Let's keep it stupid simple, you know what I'm saying? We
Well,
don't-
and
we don't have-
then, I don't mean to interrupt, but before I forget, because when you get older, you do that. Like the thing that Paul sent out to all of us about the going and getting bids and all this through this, whatever it was. When I read that, to me, that meant I was the city of Rush City going, and my road guys were going out and getting bids of material that they were going to use. And that was like way out of our scope of what we were, looking for. We're just looking for a bid for a guy to come and do the roads. He's dealing with that through his business that goes through the state, maybe to make sure they're getting the correct material, not
We're
us.
collecting money from our neighbors and we're spending it.
Yeah.
And they have no way of saying, no, we don't want to give you the money. So it's up to us to make sure that we're being prudent, we're showing due diligence. And it was just a little frustrating on my part when I'm asking, is this the best price? And no, we're not even going to ask that question. And we got the same bid from the guy last year at the same price. And it was in a big rush that we gotta do it now because,
Prices are going
prices
up.
are gonna go up. Now we gotta do it in a hurry because we're gonna be working next door. I got tenants that come up with excuses like that every
Yeah.
month.
Well,
You
you
know,
know what, I think our transparency, and when when we participate in discussions like
Mm-hmm.
this, I think we're so transparent that we're members of the community too,
Mhm.
and we're not gonna do something that adversely affects us.
Yeah, we're
We're all
constantly,
part of that too. We're
Yeah.
not trying to hide something or, oh, let's pay this guy more because he's my cousin's brother.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what we're about.
yeah, we're
And I get
constantly,
that feeling that
Yeah.
people think, or whoever, that that's what we're doing and we're not.
well, we're constantly begging and pleading people to get involved in our community, you know, and there's just very little engagement, and that's fine, that's people's right, they don't have to be engaged, you know, and you know, we want to take care of our neighborhood because but we have our own personal reasons for it, and I think that's great. I don't want to discourage anybody from being a part of this organization, and like I said, I would support something like every year for the month of August, it's open to throw your hat into the ring for an election in November. And if nobody throws their hat in the ring in the month of August, then we just continue until the next year. And we just keep going in that function, you know?
Simple. You're right, Paul. We should basically try to get 2-3 bids for everything. That's just the right thing to do. Price check. We basically went off historic data, you know, you can kind of see it's kind of following the same lines that we had before. And let's just follow through with it and get to the point on the roads, and I understand exactly what you're saying. I didn't mean to shoot you down on that. I guess that was my opinion. And then you voiced it back.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with it. I have no problem with it.
It's tough. I'm a cheap investor in real life.
You're what?
I'm frugal.
Brutal.
Yeah,
Thrift shop.
yeah.
A thrift shop. All right, is there anything else? Any other discussions?
You guys ain't the only one that have this problem. Every board and everything else I'm on, it's the same deal everywhere. So
Yeah, we just gotta work through it.
just gotta work through it and.
Yeah.
And we do bids the same, you know, township problem is a whole different, because the whole different ballgame, and you have to send nothing out for bids over $175,000, so.
Yep.
We get a few bids here and there and stuff, and, you know, if you work with the same person all the time, and you feel like you're getting your bargains worth, and it's working, you stay with it.
Well, that's
And
basically,
if you don't,
Yeah.
go shop.
Yeah.
yeah. And that's kind of the way that I typically operate too. Once you find somebody that does a good job, you just historical data, that's, you know,
It goes a long ways, and then
Yeah.
if you have a question, you can always ask, hey, you know, this doesn't look great, or that doesn't look great.
And every
I
once
think
in a while,
that
you gotta get
relationship
bids
is
on it,
valid.
keep them honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
try to keep it local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do come to a full room of people, something bad happened.
Yeah, right. You don't have to tell us that.
If you come to a full room, something really bad happened.
That's exactly it. All right, I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second, aye.
All in favor, aye.